In this video, we are talking about why people are feeling scared to move to Austin, Texas. And truth be told, in some cases, Austin, Texas has changed for the better. And in a lot of cases, Austin, Texas has changed for the worse. So hopefully by the end of this video, we'll have helped you arrive at your own conclusion as to whether or not it is right for you and what you can expect. Stay tuned. Hey again everybody, this is Frank with the Living in Austin group at eXp Realty. Every week we put out new content about living in Austin, Texas, the good and the not so good. So remember to subscribe if you haven't already and ring that little bell to get notified anytime we put out a new video. We also love the reach outs we get now all the time from people just like you in need of our help when relocating to the greater Austin area. So keep them coming. Don't hesitate, whether you're 9 days away or 90. Reach out to our team, whether you shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call any day of the week, any time of day. So yes, in this video, we are talking about why people are feeling scared to move to Austin, Texas. And in some cases, rightfully so. And in some other cases, perhaps they would be misinformed. And so we're gonna get to the bottom of it in this video. And starting out, I wrote down the subject of affordability or lack thereof. And so what we see in our business with a lot of our clientele, pretty much all of our clientele, is that they are relocating from out of state. And it makes sense because Texas as a whole most often is going to be considerably more affordable than at least a lot of the places they are coming from, which in most instances would be on the coasts, whether it be Washington State, Oregon, California, or New York on the East Coast, even the Carolinas, or sometimes even Canada, where things are just getting very expensive. So they look naturally to Texas. Now, the downside is that when you're looking at Austin specifically, and a lot of people would argue, Austin is perhaps the most attractive city in the state of Texas. It is consistently a hotspot for relocation. However, when compared to the Dallases of the world, the Houstons of the world, the San Antonios of the world, the neighboring large cities outside of Austin, Texas, they will find that those places are considerably more affordable than Austin. So it is a bit of a spoiler in case you haven't heard. Austin, Texas is above and beyond the most expensive city to live in the state of Texas. So naturally, when you're looking at Austin, Texas, and within the city limits, just a few years ago, it was in perhaps the mid to high 400s, and then it crept into around $500,000, and then maybe $550,000, and now all of a sudden, it is well over $600,000 as its median home price. And so I understand that can be quite dissuading for a lot of people. Now, the good side to that, the silver lining, is that really is specific to the city limits. And don't get me wrong, you have luxurious areas such as the Westlake Hills or Bee Cave, Texas, or Lakeway, Texas, or Dripping Springs, so on and so forth. But in other instances, outside of the city of Austin, within perhaps 20 to 40 minutes max, you have places like Manor or Hutto or Leander or Georgetown or Round Rock or Elgin, places that do have median home prices that can vary from the mid to high threes all the way to about $500,000 for those more popular sought after suburbs. So if you're looking at the city of Austin, Texas, or Austin proper rather, rightfully so, you might want to feel a little bit scared with those prices, but if you're okay with living outside of the city itself and exploring other areas, you might be pleased to find it's more affordable than you think. Up next, we have interest rates, and holy crap, those interest rates. And I suppose this is non-specific to Austin, Texas. This is more of a national thing. However, when you're talking about the decreasing affordability of Austin, Texas, and then you throw these interest rates on top of it, absolutely cause for concern. Can't blame anyone for feeling a bit shaky in their boots regarding making a move to Austin, Texas. Now, thankfully, these interest rates we found, especially in recent weeks, if not recent months, have really caused the market to shift. And it has shifted towards being advantageous for buyers because they have really slowed things down. But even with a slowed down market, it's not like those interest rates have just gone away. Now, many of our clients and what many people are doing in this market is simply buying with the current interest rates and eventually refinancing when the rates begin to fluctuate. But otherwise, thankfully, our team, if you're worried about the rates, our team often uses strategies to get either the sellers or builders to pay down your interest rate so that you can still have a lower monthly payment. In addition to that, right now buyers are also offloading supply. So they are offering crazy lender incentives at times, such as even $20,000 cash at closing, which can be used to buy down interest rates. So, if you'd like to learn more about that, reach out to our team. But the good news is that with the interest rates as they currently are and what we're seeing in the market, yes, it can be a scary time to buy, but with how things have been shifting towards being advantageous for buyers, it's nice to know you have options. Moving right along, I wrote down the subject of changing culture. And depending on who you are, this can absolutely be a turnoff. And the simple truth of the matter is, I think most people would agree that the city of Austin, or the greater Austin area in some regards, is becoming less and less Texan. And that might be good news for people who are coming from out of state and are maybe not so warmed to the idea of going to a state like Texas if they're used to perhaps San Francisco or Oregon or places like that are very not Texan. They might not want such a drastic culture shift. However, a lot of people are very much looking forward to going to a state like Texas as a nice change of pace, a breath of fresh air. And so when you look at a city like Austin, Texas, which when compared to Dallas, Houston, or San Antonio is just becoming, dare I say, more Californian, as so many companies from Silicon Valley and the Bay Area are flocking here, creating Silicon Hills, and by a byproduct of that, changing the culture as well, it might be a bit of a turnoff. And then in addition to that, with the influx of people coming here, you have an increase in traffic and construction to keep up with the ever-growing population in a city that is not very large to begin with in Austin, Texas. And of course, in addition to that, as mentioned, the median home price within the city limits going up and up and up. And then you have subjects like the increase of crime statistics, the increase of homelessness. You're starting to see panhandlers in places outside of the city that you didn't used to see them. And so with all of that in mind, with a large transplant culture as well, a lot of people you meet, maybe 4 or 5 out of 10 not even being from here, not even being born and raised in the Southern culture, you have a city that, yes, is in Texas, and don't get me wrong, is still very Texan in many ways, but it is not really what Austin used to be. A lot of people are complaining about that. A lot of local Austinites are, saying, get out, don't move here. They're getting very upset about it because they're seeing the Austin they once knew and loved starting to really change at an accelerating pace. Now, real quickly before moving on, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. If we've been providing any value for you, consider liking the video as it helps our channel grow. Remember to subscribe, and lastly, share our content with anybody you know who's wanting to learn more about living in Austin, Texas. Up next, regarding why people are feeling scared to move to Austin, Texas, is the subject of demand and the market. And so, as mentioned, the city of Austin, Texas is consecutively one of the hottest spots for relocation in the entire country. And so you throw the seller's market we've seen the past months and years on top of that, and naturally you would feel quite discouraged, or I would feel quite discouraged in your shoes to even possibly consider relocating to Austin, Texas, especially when compared to a lot of its neighboring cities in the state of Texas. And for the longest time in our experience helping our clients on the buying side of the transactions, we saw such an extreme seller's market where buyers would essentially have to beg in the form of waiving their inspections, of waiving their appraisals. They would have to get offers in within 24 hours oftentimes and be one of maybe 10 to 20 to sometimes 50 offers, a lot of those offers going well above asking price, whether it's 10 to 20 grand or 50 to 100 grand. And for all they knew, it possibly wasn't even the house of their dreams. I mean, it's really hard to figure out if this is the perfect house for you in such a short amount of time. And that was the norm for the past few years. Now, thankfully, in the past few weeks, in the past few months, we've seen an absolute shift, an abrupt shift. And, as we hate those interest rates, again, it is largely due to those interest rates. And now we're seeing a market that is shifting towards being advantageous for buyers. And what that looks like is longer option periods. It means more time to decide. Homes are no longer selling within 24 to 48 offers of them going on the market. So you actually have plenty of time now to go check out the house to see if it really is what you want. And of course, now we also are seeing lower home prices. And so the days of a house that was listed at $400,000 and selling for $500,000 are well behind us. Also, the days of homes being priced above their market value are far behind us. So a house, for example, that could be assessed at $400,000, they would list it for $450,000 or $500,000 and then sell even above that. And they could absolutely get away with it because of the way the market was advantageous to sellers and simply the demand that we're seeing. Now, if you have the audacity to price a house for more than it's really worth on the market, you will find that it's just not going to sell. And then you're going to be doing price reductions, which is remarkably advantageous for the buying side regarding negotiations. And it just sits on the market longer. It's just not a good look right now if people are having the confidence, for lack of a better term, to really price it unfairly. And so now we're seeing homes being listed for what they're worth and oftentimes selling for what they're worth. If a house is listed at $350,000, most likely it'll sell for around $350,000, sometimes less, which is amazing news if you're on the buying side. But if it's over asking price, it's really not going to be nearly as much as it used to be. And so yes, the demand is very scary. I can't blame you if you're feeling intimidated wanting to relocate to Austin, but seeing how the market is and the demand. But thankfully, recently things are really beginning to shift and I like where things are going. Now lastly, regarding why people are feeling scared to move to Austin, Texas, is the subject of property taxes. And if you are a longtime subscriber, I do apologize for mentioning this 10,000 times, but if you're new to the channel, this is why I mention it again. Property taxes are something that can really blindside a lot of people if they're not really looking out for them, if they're not really expecting them, or if they are simply uninformed regarding the topic. So in our cases, a lot of the people that we've helped relocate and close on their homes here in the greater Austin area are used to property taxes that are maybe 0.5%, 1%, 1.5%, sometimes 2%. Well, not just specific to Austin, but in the state of Texas, whether it be Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, or Austin, you're going to find property taxes of at least 2%, very often being 2.5%. And in the case of Austin, Texas, more specifically, it can even be 2.75% or sometimes 3% if it's a brand new area with brand new schools, with brand new stores, streets, brand new communities, and new build construction homes. Those are areas that you can see it be 3% or higher. And so if you are used to paying a considerably lower property tax rate, just be prepared. I'm not saying it to dissuade you, to discourage you, to disenchant you, because a lot of people would argue that the lack of income tax kind of balances it out. But then again, if you're not prepared, if you're getting all your ducks in a row, if you're doing your finances and checking all these boxes, do not forget to consider those property taxes, as in many cases, they can feel in some ways like a second mortgage. So again, I don't mean to scare you. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are probably feeling scared already, but this is more about being informed. And on this channel, we do keep it brutally honest. And so why not be consistent? So there you have it. For many reasons, and rightfully so, people are feeling scared to move to Austin, Texas. And in other instances, a lot of those fears might just be based on assumptions. Assumptions that hopefully in this video we've cleared the air about and hopefully helped you arrive at your own conclusion as to whether or not it is the right decision for you. And if it is, that is what we are here for, helping people just like you relocate to the greater Austin area, making that move as smooth as possible, finding that perfect spot, and getting those offers accepted. But again, the only way we can do that is again by you reaching out to us. So don't hesitate, whether you're 9 days away or 90, keep them coming. Reach out to our team, whether you shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call any day of the week, any time of day. And again, every week we put out new content about living in Austin, Texas, the good and yes, the bad. So remember to subscribe if you haven't already and ring that little bell to get notified whenever we put out a new video. Comment down below with your thoughts. Like this video if we've been providing any value for you. Share it with anybody you know. And until the next one, you guys, my name is Frank. This is Living in Austin, Texas, and we will absolutely catch you later.